I have the great pleasure of introducing today our keynote speaker, who really needs no introduction. Of course, we all know Gary Kelly, Chief Executive Officer, President, Chairman of the Board of Southwest Airlines. Get this, 41 years of consecutive profits, just named by Fortune as one of the 9 most admirable companies to work for. They're always a fantastic company, ranked in the best place to work for. I want to thank especially Chris Maines and Linda Rutherford, who without them, Southwest wouldn't be here as a sponsor today, Mr. Kelly wouldn't be here. These folks are so nice. It's no wonder that they're ranked as one of the best places to work. They return all your phone calls and your emails, and they're giving away 2 free round-trip tickets that I now have the pleasure of announcing the winners for. So first, and these, we took everybody who was here, we put their names, and then we randomly drew the winner. So the first winner is Bryce Wiegand. Bryce, congratulations, right? And the other winner is Mr. George Rashevsky. George, where are you? George, congratulations with the Coppell YMCA. Now we're going to send those tickets to your home. If they accidentally get shipped to my house, I will ensure they make their way over to you. Now, when I was asked to introduce Mr. Kelly, that's like a big responsibility. This is an important person in town. It's a little daunting, very intimidating. I didn't get to meet Mr. Kelly before the luncheon started. He preferred it that way. Just kidding. Security and all. But, I decided I needed to do some research. Well, the Southwest folks were so great. They sent over all the documents, and it was so impressive that his bio, they use his first name. He's Gary throughout it. So that tells you something about their corporate culture. So I decided I needed to do a little research, and I went on the internet, right? Great resource, to decide, let me get some more information about Mr. Kelly. And what I found is almost this urban legend, right? There's these best practices on how Mr. Kelly is to be introduced. Now, he doesn't expect this, but supposedly, there's even a YouTube video on how you're supposed to do this. So I'm going to give this a try, and I have no idea how this is going to turn out. So you're just going to have to bear with me. You can be the judge of it afterwards, right? So here it goes. Gary Kelly has been with Southwest Airlines for 28 years. He was originally hired as controller, and then became chief financial officer and executive vice president, and later became CEO and vice chairman in June 2004. He had his current position in 2008. He has lit up the rankings and has been named Dallas's best CEO by DCEO magazine twice, and by the Dallas Business Journal back in 2011. And of course, he's been the guiding light for Southwest Airlines, especially through their bringing on Airtran's Airways, and also now going international here in 2014. And of course, we are all free to move about the country with the recent lifting of the Wright Amendment. Yep. So please, if you would, buckle your seats, put your seats in the upright position, and put away all cell phone devices, and help me welcome Mr. Gary Kelly.
Let's give a hand for Creighton. How about that? That was really well done. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that is a very unique introduction. You'd make a very good flight attendant, sir. I don't know how you are at PR and all that stuff, but no, it's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for a very warm welcome. It's always an honor to be asked to events like this, but we're so appreciative of what the YMCA does in all of our communities all across the nation, and certainly here in North Texas. So we're very proud to be here and very proud sponsors of the YMCA. And Gordy was asking me before about my connection to the Y, and it took me a while to resurrect some memories. But I have 2 daughters. They're almost 30 and 33 now. And my younger daughter was an Indian princess, and her name was Wildflower. So I did remember that. And my name was Wild Turkey. And the other memory that came to mind was there were 3 rules that you had to know to be one of the dads. There was no fireworks, there was no firearms, and no fire water. And I figured as long as I got 2 out of 3, that'd be good enough. So, gosh, my kids grew up playing in Y Sports, and what an important part of the community. So thank you all for what you do. It's a very historic time for Southwest Airlines, and you all being in Dallas, I'm sure you know a lot of what's going on. And I appreciate very much the very enthusiastic applause to the repeal of the Wright Amendment. Interestingly enough, that's just one thing that's happening at Southwest Airlines here in 2014. So I thought I might spend just a couple of minutes talking about what's going on, where we've been, and where we hope to go in the future. The interesting thing for us is that we feel so good here in 2014, and I hope you all feel the same way. It feels like a lot of good things are going on here in Dallas and North Texas, and I've been in Dallas since 1977, so times are really good. Texas is a great place to live and work, and it just feels like the future is very, very bright for all of us. It's just really fun for us at Southwest to be some part of that. So. The last decade has been very, very difficult, and we've had to make a lot of changes within Southwest to get to this point in 2014. I'll touch on some of that in a minute. But first of all, we kicked off the year with launching an international reservation system. So up until 2014, Southwest was an all-domestic carrier, and for the first time in our history, began taking reservations in January in preparation for flying to international destinations on July the 1st. So that is a big deal and a lot of work. It's a lot more complex than one might think, but that's gone very, very well for us. The next thing that happened is another airline in the North Texas area that's headquartered here decided to merge with U.S. Airways and create American Airlines Group. And as a part of that, the Justice Department mandated that they divest themselves of some slots. And that would be at Washington's Reagan Airport and also LaGuardia. So a smaller headline, but really just as big as the Wright Amendment repeal, is we bought a bunch of slots, and especially to Washington Reagan, and we've seen our flight activity increase at Reagan from 17 daily departures, and as of Sunday we'll be up to 44 daily departures. The interesting thing about that is in 2011, before we bought Airtran, we did not even serve Washington Reagan, and believe it or not, I do have to laugh about this. After acquiring these slots, we'll actually be the second largest airline at Washington Reagan. It's a distant second, I grant you, but that is a lot. That's a very significant increase in flight activity, and really good for our Southwest customers. Of course, the Wright Amendment repeal came together here on October the 13th. That was coincident with completing all of the construction of Love Field Airport. Thank goodness that the Wright Amendment repeal happened, because otherwise Love Field would be a fraction of itself as we know it today. And I'll go into that a little bit here in a minute. The other thing that happens here in 2014 is we've been working on merging or integrating Airtran since we closed on that deal in May of 2011, and all of that work will be completed on December the 28th. If you can imagine buying a company and not having all the capabilities to continue to operate that company, you can imagine the construction that flows from that. So Airtran had two fundamental things that created a lot of change for Southwest. One is they had international flights that we wanted to keep, so we had to commit to that work effort to create that capability within Southwest as we integrated Airtran. And then secondly, Airtran was an all Boeing fleet. They had 140 airplanes when we bought them, but about 2/3 of them were not 737s. They were the Boeing 717. And we did not have the capability to operate an airplane other than a 737. So we had those two construction efforts as foundation work to complete the integration of Airtran into Southwest, and all that's coming together here at the end of this year. So, huge year for us. At the same time, we are fortunately benefiting from very strong earnings, easily record earnings in our 43-year history. And the stock is at an all-time high by about 50%. And at various prices, we're either the number one, the number two, or the number three performer this year on the S&P 500. It's up about 80 to 85%. So it's a pretty damn good year here at Southwest. So I'm happy to be here talking to you all. Little quick history. Dallas is our home. It always has been. Our first flight was June 18th of 1971. It is important to us that we be a part of this community. I'm very proud of our people. We've got over 8,000 employees here in the North Texas area, and this has always been our home, and if we have anything to say about it, it always will be. So it is very nice to finally see our home airport freed so that we can serve our customers better. We've grown to have almost 700 aircraft in our fleet. We are the largest airline in America. If you just look at the number of customers who board the aircraft, which a lot of people don't realize, 1 in 4 fly on a Southwest flight every single day. So we're larger than the largest airlines in the world, which are Delta, American, and United. But if you just look at how many they board in the U.S. compared to Southwest, actually we're larger, interestingly enough. 700 airplanes also puts us worldwide at the top of the heap. We're probably number 3 or 4. So it's grown to be a pretty darn big company. We'll do about $18 billion in revenue this year and have about 46,000 employees nationwide. Our route system right now covers 86 cities in the 48 states. We have 7 international destinations. We just announced the 8th, which will be San Jose, Costa Rica, that will begin flying in March of next year. As you think about Southwest in the future, most new dots that we'll add to our map, in fact, virtually all new dots, will be beyond the 48 states. So with the 737, which is all we will operate going forward, we'll retire all of the Airtran 717s. We can reach Hawaii, Alaska, Canada, Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, all the way down to the northern reaches of South America. So one of the things that Southwest has always been famous for is efficiency and low cost, having a single aircraft type, very high asset utilization, and that will continue into the indefinite future. We have 50 potential new destinations that we could possibly add to our route map over time. So roughly a 50-55% increase. And that could translate to hundreds of additional airplanes in the future. So those aren't guarantees, but it just gives you an idea of the opportunity going forward simply by creating the ability to expand beyond the borders of the 48 states in the United States. So that's very exciting for us. I want to mention just briefly what we were in 1971 and what we are today and what we want to continue to aspire to be in the future. We're famous, as you all know, for low fares. Low fares over time has taken on different attributes. You know, interestingly enough, over the past 6 years now, we're famous for things like no baggage fees or no change fees. And I would just lump those in for you all with our low fare brand. It's really low fares and more. And if you go back to the beginning of Southwest, only about 15% of the population in the United States could afford to fly. It was a rich person's game. And we really feel like at Southwest that we've democratized the skies, and we want to continue that. And that's one of the reasons that we become the largest airline in America, is because we are famous for low fares. It is amazing how many people will fly if the fares are low enough. It is so price sensitive. So in the old days when we were developing the U.S., we would go into a new market, we would lower the fares by about 2/3, and the traffic would increase by 3 and 4 times. It is just remarkable how many people would fly. One thing that I wanted to share with you is that as energy prices since really 9/11 have gone up so much, as a transportation company, jet fuel costs are now about 1/3 of a trip cost. So it is a huge impact on the airline industry. Every major airline has gone bankrupt that existed a generation ago, except for Southwest Airlines, and that's one of the reasons why. But fares have gone up as well, and it's really the reverse effect of what I was describing. So fares come down, traffic increases, fares go up, the opposite's going to happen. So there's actually fewer travelers, especially in short-haul markets today, than there were just 15 years ago. Dallas, Houston, everybody here I'm sure knows that is our bread and butter, Southwest Airlines. 50% fewer people are flying between Dallas and Houston today compared to the year 2000. And that was my point about Love Field. Love Field, by definition, was by federal law forced to be a short-haul airport. And I didn't know this in 2004 when we kicked off our effort to repeal the Wright Amendment, that short-haul traffic was going to continue to decline so much. And that's why I said, thank goodness that those restrictions have been repealed. We'll have, in January, 153 daily departures, which puts Dallas Love Field in the top 10, but not nearly as large as a Chicago or a Denver or a Baltimore. It'll have 50 or 60 or 70 more daily departures, but still a very good sized operation. I would bet you that we would have maybe 50 daily departures in Dallas if you still had the 2004 style restrictions on the airport. You'd still have the old airport. Hopefully you all have been over there. It is a wonderful airport. I'm very proud of that. I think it's one of the best in the country, and a very elegant solution to have an airport that fits within the neighborhoods nicely with a 20-gate limit. We want to be a good neighbor, and at the same time simply be able to choose where we want to fly. So as you all know, we've launched new destinations in October. We've added 7 new destinations. They're all performing extraordinarily well. We've got 8 more new nonstop destinations that are coming online on Sunday, and then a couple more in January. So it's a real good news story. Our purpose at Southwest Airlines then and now is really to connect you and all of our customers to what's important in your lives. And we want to do that with friendly, reliable, and low-cost air travel. That's what we stand for. And every change that we contemplate, we put through that filter. Does it match up to our purpose? And we work very hard to live up to that every day. As we think about the future, we have what we want to be as an aspirational vision, and that is to be the world's most loved and most flown, but also most profitable airline. And we have contrasts in the airline business now that perhaps we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago, but there are airlines out there today that are famous for not caring about customer service. And it makes for a good and evil type comparison, because most companies, as you know, strive to offer great customer service. We want to love our customers. We want them to love us and offer the very best price that we can. And that's not necessarily the case with several airlines today. They have very low cost, but they have I think most people would say, very poor service. So we're the exact opposite of that. We want to have low cost and offer great service. And that is, again, that's our vision going forward. We've had to transform Southwest, especially over the last 5, perhaps 10 years. We've had to make dramatic changes to live in a world of much higher fuel costs. Again, our fuel prices are up 6 times compared to where we were in 2001. 6 times. And that for an $18 billion company, that means a fuel bill increase of $5 billion a year. You just can't continue to do the same things that you were. Acquiring Airtran was one of our strategic initiatives to help us adjust. It helped us finish out our domestic route development. It brought Atlanta, it brought Washington Reagan. It also brought us an initial step into international markets. Airtran is low cost like Southwest. Airtran has a very strong operating background and culture. It's been a wonderful fit, and as I said, on December the 29th, that integration will be complete, and all airplanes flying and all employees working will be under the Southwest banner. So the Airtran brand will be retired at that point. We also launched a new frequent flyer program in 2011. We were built to be a short-haul, high-frequency airline. And for the reasons I've described to you all, we needed to have a better product for long-distance flights. That's where the market has been growing, and that's what we have been preparing ourselves for. So we changed our frequent flyer program to reward our flyers for long-haul flights, and it has worked beautifully. Our membership in our Rapid Rewards program is up almost 60% in 3 years. So that was initiative number 2. The other thing that we wanted to do to prepare us better for long distance flying was to get a more efficient airplane. Fortunately, we could stay within the 737 family. The 700 airplane, model airplane, which is our bread and butter, has 143 seats. The rule of thumb in the airline business is the bigger the airplane, the lower the cost per seat. So we now have the 800 in our fleet. It has 175 seats on it. It is well suited for longer distance, lower frequency routes. You get a lower cost per seat. It burns less gas per seat, on and on and on. And then of course you get the additional seats in terms of revenue. So we brought that airplane on, positioning us better for long distance flying. We also have a fleet modernization initiative. We decided to retire Airtran 717s for the same reasons I just described for the 800s. Those are small airplanes, 117 seaters. I don't think we lose money on every one of those flights, but they're just not very efficient because of their size, and it is not a 737. It's just not as cost efficient an airplane. Engines, fuel burn, you name it. So we found a taker for those, and we're replacing each one of their 88 717s with a 737. We're also launching with Boeing the next generation 737. It's called the MAX, M-A-X. That will come online in 2017. The engines are new. It is new technology. GE, Pratt & Whitney have been working for decades on the next generation engines. And believe it or not, they will burn 15% less gas. So you talk about a huge cost initiative or benefit for us. We're very excited about that. And of course, it emits a lot less greenhouse gas emissions as well. The last plank of our strategy was to completely replace all of our reservation system technology. It was more or less homegrown at Southwest. It fit what we used to do very, very well. It just doesn't have all of the capabilities that we now need to fly longer haul and potentially have dual class service, assigned seats, interline with other carriers, offer international service. There's a whole list of things that our current system does not do, and many of them you'll benefit from immediately. There are much better customer accommodation features available with new technology as compared to what we have in our current systems, as an example. Finally, we decided that we would celebrate this year commemorate this year, acknowledge all of these things coming together with a brand refresh. And so we have launched an updated livery. The colors are essentially the same. We did focus on a new logo, which I've got on my lapel here, which I thought was brilliant. I wish I had thought of it and came up with it. It still, I think, is true to our roots and our history, but having the heart as our logo with our colors on it, I think really captures for us and for our people, and hopefully sends the right message to our customers of what we stand for. And I mentioned earlier the contrast. We don't want to be just low fares. We want to be more than that, and we want to care about you. We want to care about our customers. And if you've ever traveled, and if you've ever had a canceled flight or been in a delay situation, and you have somebody there who is no help to you, you know exactly what I mean. So we don't want to be that airline, and we work very hard every day to make sure that we've hired people with the right attitude, and that's somebody who's there to serve you. So I'd be happy to open it up if we have any time left for questions. And there's a microphone up front that we are asking you to come use. Any questions for me?
I got one.
We have a victim.
Peter, you probably. All right, I'll be bold.
I'll repeat.
You probably have seen in the NFL this year that many of the teams are using throwback uniforms. I wonder if you have similar plans for your flight attendants.
You know, I will repeat that question because I love it. He said that many of the NFL teams this year are using retro uniforms, and I guess they have been off and on for a couple of years. And any thoughts that we would go back to our retro flight attendant uniforms? Before 1982, all flight attendants on Southwest Airlines were women. And my very first flight coming from middle-class San Antonio, Texas, in my life was on Southwest Airlines, circa 1972. I did not think that little airline would make it. When I got on the airplane to go from San Antonio to Houston, there were 2 other passengers on the airplane. We were very well attended to by 3 flight attendants in hot pants. So I would love to bring those back, but I'm told that I would have to wear the same outfit. So this is a very stressful time for me because you also remind me that tomorrow is Halloween, and I want you all to know that I've really sacrificed a lot to be here with you and not be preparing my costume for tomorrow. But, so sadly, no sir, I'm afraid those uniforms won't come back. Yes sir.
You've been an incredibly innovative company. How difficult would it be for Southwest to view itself as a transportation company as opposed to just an airline and get in front of the bullet train from Dallas?
Get in front of it, in other words, support it? Or get run over by it? Question is, can we think of Southwest more as a transportation company, not just an airline, and perhaps think about things like the bullet train? I think intellectually, I would say sure, we can do that, and by the way, we have done that. You know, so because the world has changed so much around us. In the old days, I used to laugh with Herb Kelleher because our strategy was on one sheet of paper. We were short haul, point to point, low fare, non-interline. He was always very colorful about the way he would describe Southwest. But it was what's our strategy is what's the next new city that we're going to open. And all of a sudden in the 2000s, we were confronted with forks in the road. We had choices to make. And as a leader, it was a challenge for me to sort of reorient our leadership team to, no, we've got to do homework in a different way. We've got to have more lively debates about those kinds of things. So I would just say yes, from a macro perspective, that we're willing to entertain that. Now, Having fought our way to this point in 2014, I will admit to you all that our focus in 2015 is to stabilize. Let's finish off this integration. We've got all kinds of new things that have been introduced over the last 5 years. Introducing more change on top of all that change, I'm very nervous about. So there is a tension here with a desire to continue to be innovative and at the same time to say, wow, how much change can an organization handle? So fortunately, the company is performing very well, so I think there's a lot of confidence and an openness. At the same time, I think our people could get fatigued if we're not managing that carefully. How's that for skirting the obvious question? You know, the train, we don't have a position on the train which is not to be interpreted as that we're neutral. We're not neutral. We've expended no effort on it, probably for all the reasons I've described to you, which our focus is to continue the 737 expansion because we have so many opportunities. And I think it would be unwise on our part to get distracted. But I will admit to you that we've never found a business case that was even close commercially to support high-speed rail, period. And that's not to say that it can't be done, but we haven't seen it and we're not expending any effort on that. Yes, sir?
We're done.
I'm told we are done. I am so happy that that is the case, so I can go work on my costume. Thank you all for having Southwest Airlines here today.